Welcome to another episode of the Bimmer Podcast. I'm your host, Burr. Obviously, next to me is Mr. Long Island Beamer himself.
Hey guys, we're here one more time. Thank you to Luke for having us here today. We're going to be presenting one of the beautiful E46 I have ever seen. Luke, welcome.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
So, Luke, before we get into this, can you give us a little bit of history on your background building cars? How did it all start?
And I'll tell you what, it all started, with my brother. Without my brother, he doesn't know though, he's outside though, but this actually is a homage to him. Because without him, I wouldn't be fooling with cars. And I'm coming back from the days of Fountain Avenue, Greenpoint, all those areas, and because of him, we got this.
Now, I remember a lot of people, our viewers are new, and they don't know what Greenpoint is or Fountain Avenue. Fountain Avenue is where Gateway Mall is now. And that used to be vacant lots, just nice paved roads. And Greenpoint used to be 2 old gas tanks that used to be there. And there was a side street that will shut down from major traffic and just run. What kind of car did you have back then?
That's a good question, really and truly. I had literally rotary, S14 with JDM nose on there. The last car, I had a VR6 turbocharged, a GS 300. I had a little bit of everything, man, a little bit of everything.
Were those cars fast?
No, so basically, the only car that I really got into so much was the VR6 itself, and how could I forget, an MK3 Supra that I had built. And that's one of the reasons why this is here also.
Now, we spoke a little bit earlier, and I know you used to run with the same people that I did growing up. What was the shop back then that you had dealt with hooking up your MK3?
Oh man, Eastern. Gee, now I feel old now. You know what I mean? Because these new generation, you talking about Eastern, they're like Eastern, Western.
That's just a part of the world.
That was before your time. But yeah, that was before the internet. You wanted a piece. Especially a JDM piece, you couldn't go to SK. There was a handful of places to go, and I built a relationship with Jay at Eastern. You know what I mean? And then they had claws, but I spent most of my time and my money at Eastern.
So the MK. So you're saying that favorite car that you had built was the Supra, correct?
Yes.
What did you do to that? Or you also have long history with 2JZ?
Yeah. So basically, at that time, before the 2J, it was the 7M. And as all my old friends and families knows, so that I had pistons, rods, and as I said, it was a headache because back then, you couldn't go to internet. You know what I mean? So basically, when you go to the shows at Englishtown, and you're like, oh, that's a nice turbo manifold. Where did you? So it was basically verbal. Everything was verbal. What turbo you're running, what wastegate you're running.
Like you were looking through sharing old option magazines.
Oh, yeah. I miss Turbo Magazine. I miss Turbo Magazine.
So, question, do you see any difference between culture now and before from the car community, on the car community?
Well, I tell you what, at the end of the day, it is a big difference. And that's one of the reasons why I built this car. Now, listen, hats off to everybody who has their own cars. And most of the time it's just a set of wheels. And these cars now already come with big brakes. You know what I mean? So back then when you did big brakes, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. You know what I mean? But now, most of these cars that's out there now, as I said, hats off to all of them, but they just throw in a set of wheels, an intake, and that's what it is. Back then, you really had to put in the work. And this is putting in the work. As I said, it's one of one. So I'm actually bringing it back. You know what I mean? The car is 25 years old. You know what I mean? But yet still, we're in the modern time with the technology in this car.
So let's get a little bit into this E46. Obviously we saw you at Impact, and we saw the build that you have. It's one of the most beautiful E46 that I have ever seen. Let's show a little bit of what you have done to the people and what swap you did to the car to a 25 years old car, you said?
Yeah.
Right, 25 years old car.
Yo.
But she looked like she just came out from the factory. So what do you got to say about that? And let's go over some stuff that that you can explain to us.
Well, I tell you what, this car started out, everybody see it. Everybody's like, first thing they think right off the back is an M3. But hats off to the M3 once again, but this car is actually a 318. People always ask me, dude, why you didn't buy an M3? I said, at the time when I was building this car, a rolling chassis M3, guys wanted $5,000 to $8,000. And I'm like, all right, then that's nice, but at the end of the day, I don't want the motor. I don't want the fender flares, and that's what the M3 is known for. So I'm like, I'm not gonna chop up a perfectly good car to make this. So, but everybody's like, oh, M3. I mean, as I said, it looks like an M3, but it's a 318 on steroids.
Yeah, basically, you can't really see the difference, to be honest, because when I see you over there, I thought the whole time that it was an M3, and until now that you're, telling me all these, which is so impressed, to be honest.
As far as the overall body and the styling, is this your first BMW?
Yeah, it's actually my first BMW. So everything was still new to me, but I knew it was always a great platform. And that's why I said, let me go with the E46. E36, E30, they're all beautiful, but the power I'm trying to deliver, I need a little bit of everything to go.
Now, you guys are gonna see the engine bay. Can you tell us what it is and what's it all about?
Listen, when I was building this build, I said, really and truly, I want everything. I want to be the lowest, I want to be the widest, and I need a motor that has enough potential. And that was the easiest thing. Out of all of the build is what motor I was going with, and I went with the 2J.
Oh my God, our fans are gonna watch this and go, it's a 2J. But as far as the engine, I know you have a lot of history with building that car, especially since you were growing up and your brother and your family was so involved with you. As far as the motor, what turbo, what have you done to the motor?
So as for right now, we're through the whole build itself. The internals itself, well, everybody know a 2J. You don't even got to touch nothing. You'll make 700, depending on your tuner. But the car is set up right now with a Borg Warner S369. It has the bigger intake. It has 1600 cc injectors. It's on full AEM, all sensors, infinity, and I went with the AEM cluster to manage everything.
So I see the interior. Can you give us a little more detail into the interior?
Well, the interior is the same thing too. I said, I can't make a build like this with a factory interior. I could have just done a clean M interior, but I said, something? It doesn't go with the build. The build is wild, the interior's gotta be wild, because the engine bay is wild. So I went with, it took me a little decision to go seat-wise, but I said, something? When I seen the Brom came out and the color choice, the British tan, I said, that's what I'm going with, right off the back.
Now, I know we're looking at it as it sits here. What suspension? The bodywork is crazy. Shout out to the body guy.
Yeah, my body guy is a Fish Auto, Carlisle. Regardless of whatever it is, none of this couldn't happen without you. As I said, a lot of things changed with this car. First of all, this car wasn't even supposed to have this handmade kit. I actually went with a Rocket Bunny, and he came to me and he said, yo, dude, as extreme you're going with everything, let's make something. So I was like, something? Why not? You know what I mean? Because we're already going crazy with the interior. We went crazy with the motor, so let's go crazy with the kit. And that's what we did. We started it, and it was a headache because you're not going to fit 10 up front and 13 a rear just easy like that. And as you can see, we're tucking 13s in the back. Lightweight, very lightweight.
So suspension-wise, what do we have on?
So it's a full airlift suspension on there, management, complete airlift setup on there.
Of course, when you got that much horsepower going through the motor, any special suspension other than the airlift, brakes, what have you done so far?
Well, actually, this car is still in the process of building. Actually, I have brand new Rogue Engineering strut brace, rear brace that I haven't, listen, I'm a family man, So when I get the chance and the time for work, without work, I can't do this, But as I said, it's a slow build. We're coming to the end. And as I said, that's the only thing that's left, little knickknacks to bolt on there. But as for brakes-wise, listen, I rode in my cousin's F80, and listen, we were doing 180 at Bimmer Invasion, and we tapped on the brakes. And I said, all right then, this is what I'm going with, and that's why this car sits on a full F80, rear brakes, all around.
Wheel-wise, what do we got to say?
Wheel-wise is, I'm using GMR Fox. That was the next thing too, with the wheels. It was such a big decision. I knew I wanted to go with a 5-star in general, but I know wheels would make or break me. But I didn't want to do the standard. I love BBS. Don't get me wrong. I don't even know how much wheel companies is out there. You know what I mean? But the same thing too. How much wheels out there that people haven't seen? Yeah, you're gonna see, but I went to Impact. I seen a lot of the same wheels. I love a lot of different wheels, but I said I want to separate myself, and I went with the GMR Fox.
What are the specs on them?
So right now, the front is 19 by 10, and then the rears is 19 by 13. I would give you guys the offset, but I'm gonna let you guys work for it.
Well, especially with these one-off custom fenders, all metal. How long did the bodywork take to put this whole package together?
Listen, at the end of the day, it took us a while. As I said, when you're dealing with 13s and 10, most guys has 10 in the rear. I'm using 10 up front. So when I went 13 to fit it was a headache. The amount of metal work we had to do to fit them in, because I said this car has to be laid down with the 13. To me, I knew it was going to be impressive, So the body work itself, it's all metal, even down to the side skirts. They're going to take some more videos and pictures of the car so you could see the work that went in it. But everything is metal. The side skirts, the front bumper, everything is all metal.
Going back to the wheels, I like the fact that you did something different because, like you said before, most of people do BBS. And wherever you go, all you see is people want to have BBS. You know what I mean? So I like the fact that you went something different, and I give that to yourself. Also, let's talk about the hood. I see you have a few things done to the hood. Is that a custom made, or is that that's how you got it?
It's the same factory hood, and it's funny because I was thinking to put an M3 hood on it because I like it, but I said, something? Let me just keep it plain. The car already has so much going on with it that even if I had an M3 hood on it, most people probably wouldn't know because the first thing you're going to notice is how wide it is, the interior. So I said, something? Let's keep the factory hood on there. And I said, if anything, let's just do a vent so we can just start to cool out this motor real good.
How hard was it to do the swap?
Actually, the swap itself this car was actually a Florida car. So as to get into a little bit of history, my MK3 Super that I had sold it. I said, something? It's time for something new. And it took me a little bit to figure out what I wanted to go, but I said, something? I love the E46. I love the 2J. I'm going to go with that. It's a perfect setup combination. The car originally had a 6-cylinder in there, so it wouldn't be too far fetched to put another 6 in there. So I hit up my family. As I said, I got tons of family in the 305. And I was like, yo, dude, I sold my Supra. I got a little bit of change. I'm looking for a clean shell. New York, I love you guys, but you already know, New York, you're going to find some type of rust.
Why is that? Because of the snows?
Yeah,
because of the snow?
The salt, the snow, the combination. At the end of the day, the warmer states, the only thing you're going to deal with is a faded paint job majority of the time, and the interior is going to take a beating from the sun, but it's fine. I already knew I was going to change all of that. So I hit up my cousin. I said, yo, dude, I sold my Supra. I got a little bit of money. I'm looking to do another build. And I said, keep your eyes open for a BMW E46. And the first thing came to him was the M3. I said, no, because I knew I already wanted to go in on the car. So he hits me up in a week time. He's like, yo, dude, I found an automatic, super clean. I said, dude, tell the guy I want it. You know what I mean? And the nice thing with it, as I tell anybody with a bill when you go in, I think I paid like $400 for the shell.
Wow. No way. Wow.
And it was a clean shell. It was an automatic, but didn't matter anyway. No. And so when I hit him up and I said, I'm going to go 2J route. And as I said, my 305 family, and they're literally family, You know, I hit up one of my good friends down there. Actually, his shop is Crossbreed. So you already know how that go already. So Colin, I hit up Colin and I was like, yo, dude, you know, and he's actually, I'm trying to remember the shop in Jersey because he did a lot of, when that 2J and the BMW swap came around, he's the one who did a lot of the wiring on there.
That was my other question, you know, who built the engine and everything?
So as for right now, all the engine stuff that's on there, me and my brother did it right in the front yard. No garage in New York. So as I said, the only thing that Florida they did for me was put the motor, the transmission, everything in there. And trust me, I made a lot of trips back and forth. I'm talking about to where people thought I lived in Florida. That's how often I was down there. Because as I said, the good thing was that it was at my cousin's. So I didn't have to rent a place. I was going there, the car was there. So and as I said, thank God for pictures. I have tons of pictures with me doing down there, putting in the wrench time also. And I tell you what, the weather is a lot nicer. You have it all year round.
So as the Hurricane.
Beside the Hurricane. Yeah, you're right. But the car was actually inside, so that was a good thing.
Okay, so transmission-wise, what do we got here?
Right now, the car, when I did the swap, is roughly about 8 years, believe it or not. And at that time, the CD09. So I'm using a CD09 gearbox with Collins adapter. So, and at that time, that was the way to go. You know, I wasn't spending, you know, for a grandest box, you know, $5-6 grand. I was able to, you know, the box in there is an older box, you know, because of the new stuff, but
it's been
it
proven.
works.
It's
of
been
course.
It's a proven transmission.
Of course, it works.
As far as the transmission, the rear end, what rear end are you using?
So as everything is M3 on there, the bigger axles, the LSD, everything is M3. And when we did the rear end swap, and actually same thing, my brothers at Performance Motorsport, they did all the fab work also for me. So when they did the rear reinforcement, I said, guys, since the rear is already out for the reinforcement, we're gonna just convert everything to the M.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of friends and family that contributed to the build.
Yeah, it's a team.
And I know you had mentioned earlier that you found the shell for 400. I know the missus is standing over there, but how much did you actually spend?
Well, I tell you what, at the end of the day, we're talking about close to $100,000. You know, and people are like, yo, how do you spend? Look at the car. The car hasn't missing nothing. It has titanium lug nuts on there. Go look how much titanium lug nuts is. Everything on this car has been done from ground up, literally.
Yeah.
Exhaust. I know we talk about that.
I'm using all the aluminum on this car for the fabric, exhaust, and everything is from Viper.
And that is just a cap back from turbo back.
Yes,
downpipe
from
and all.
turbo back with their 3.5-inch muffler.
Going back to the motor and everything, once you finally get it tuned, because I know that's coming up soon, what's your expected horsepower rating or?
Listen, right now, as I said, this is where I'm trying to get back seat time. I know everybody now is like 1,000. If you're not saying 1,000 horsepower, you're not saying anything. But at the end of the day, I'll take a stout 550. You know what I mean? I want drivability with the car. Spinning is not winning. It's not a drag car, but I need to keep up with some of them F80s and G80s and anything BMW that's making noise.
So you could have gone other route with different brand and everything, but you pick BMW. So why is that specifically?
It's as simple as that. You know, it's proven. It's just proven. You know what I mean? They handle, they look good. And as I said, at the end of the day, you know, I got F80 brakes on here all around. It's just one of those things, when you do decide to make a build, what parts you could use. You know, if you could get stuff from the newer stuff and use like I did, hey, listen, that's the way to go.
Was there any, I don't know, the basic thing really comes down to, I know you put a love into this build and you had said it's for family. Why not a modern Porsche or something of a Highline car that's been tricked out already from factory?
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to separate myself, and that's one of the main focus. All those cars that you're saying are beautiful and nice, but my thing is, my biggest enjoyment is when I pull up next to those $150,000, $300,000 car, and the guy goes over and say, yo, holy shit. So that feeling, guys, you're never gonna get it. As I said, you imagine somebody in a $300,000 car, don't get me wrong, he knows what he has. But once he look over and he's like, this car is wider than my car, shit. That's the best feeling you could ever have.
And 100%, that's why we actually went to you at Impact, because, we saw the build, and I went to Warren and I say, we got to interview him, because you had some different, and that's the whole point, you being different, always going to call the attention to others, right? Always going to catch people's eyes.
It's the passion and the personalization that you do, that what makes you enjoy what you're doing. It's not it's a hobby for some, but definitely this becomes part of your life.
No.
And I know with the family and how everybody contributed, it must be great to have a great support system.
It is. It's 100%. Listen, without the big man upstairs waking me every morning to bring me to work, to fund the project, between my wife, my family, my brothers, we've been doing this for years. It's not overnight. Somebody's not waking up tomorrow and saying, hey, I'm gonna build this. This is with experience and time.
It's funny that you say experience. So I know you used to run back in the day. What was the craziest story that you've had or ever can remember? Or let us know, because it's past.
Listen, one of my good friends, Jermaine, AKA Germs, like to this day we still talk about it. I remember at Burger King on the Conduit, and there was actually a police raid, and thank God I was already in the car, and we left out, and I was actually being chased by the police, and luckily enough, as I said, because of good suspension, the guy was on me, and as I said, when I see him, he's like, yo, you told that story? What are they gonna do now? I got rid of the car, they have nothing to do with it. But anyway, he was chasing me, and same thing, good thing I had a little bit of power. I pulled the e-brake, spinned on him. If you know anything about the Conduit, you're right there. So you jump on the highway, in that era, when I got home, everybody the next day was like, yo, we thought you were gone. I was like, listen, myself also, you know what I mean? So
what car was you driving, though?
Huh?
What car was you driving?
I was actually driving a Nissan 240.
So you had anything done to that car?
Believe it or not, just as funny as it is, just an intake and exhaust. The good thing with that car is it was already light.
And the EB, so you can spin.
Oh, yeah. I know how to do something. I mean, at that point, it was do something or...
It was an S14?
Yeah.
A Kuki or a Zenki?
No. It was an S14, but that car, I actually had the nose done on there.
Okay.
So with the S14, with the S15, it had the Zenki nose on there. And once again, too, that car, I actually got trophies. That car, from what I know and understand, was the first car on the East Coast with a Bomex kit, thanks to Eastern.
I remember that car. It was at Hot Import Nights here at Shea Stadium. It's no longer Shea Stadium, but...
Yes.
And I was part of my Tantrum, and we had about 30 cars. And I remember noticing you, because we also did a couple of S14s, 13s.
Yeah. No, I got you. It's a small world, guys.
It's a very small world.
I see you got a roll cage. Is that a roll cage or?
No, so it's just pretty much a harness bar.
Oh, it's a harness bar.
Yeah, that's in there. I was planning to do a roll cage, but as I said, as Warren said, you're never finished build. So I wouldn't be surprised. Right now, as I said, I'm just trying to finish a couple little knickknacks, but don't be surprised if you do see a full cage in there, by next year.
Well, I could imagine you're going to need the full cage, especially when he builds the motor. And then you're going to have a bigger turbo. Whatever, sky's the limit. Obviously, funding is always the thing, but your passion is priceless. What has been the hardest thing about this build, besides the bodywork? We all know that.
Well, I tell you what, go back to it. A lot of things never almost happened with this car. First, this car wasn't even supposed to be white. When I told my body guy, Fish Auto, he hit me up and was like, yo, dude, we got to paint this car. And I said, all right then. And he hit me at Campbell to get the paint. And he's like, dude, I'm here right now going to buy the color. What color are we going with? And I said, dude, we're going to go white. And he was like, white? And then everybody said the same thing. White, this car wasn't supposed to, it was going to be something in the gray family. But I said, something? I wanted something a little bit different. Going back, regardless, white is just so clean, you know? And as I said, the car ended up being white. And once again, I still got to plug my guy Carlisle, Fish Auto. As I said, he changed the game, literally. A lot of things that was on his car wouldn't happen without him. Even down a simple thing as the headlights. You know, he came to me and he was like, you know, let's paint the house in white. I said, dude, the whole car is white. I don't want, he's like, trust me, we're gonna paint it white, and if you don't like it, I'm a painter. I'll just paint it back black. I said, you know something? At that point, I have nothing to lose, because the painter said he's gonna paint it back. And we did it white, and believe it or not, it was one of those things where people don't really notice it, but when they notice it, they're like, wow. You know, it catches you, and then it holds you.
No, you definitely picked the right color. You know, that's not even a question, because the color itself called the attention. But the other question is this: are you gonna keep this car on this color, or are you planning to wrap it on the future?
Nah, believe it or not, as I say, you know, don't mess with perfection. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? This car could be any other color. It's gonna look good. It's gonna look good, no matter what color we choose to paint it with the interior. Hell, if we went black with it, if we went gray with it. Hell, even if we went yellow with it, the car is still gonna, it's just the feature of the car itself. It didn't matter what color this car is gonna be.
What's the official color?
So, believe it or not, I give you a little clue, but it's actually an Alpina white. But obviously you can see it's dancing in the sunlight. It does has pearl, but I'm not telling you guys what pearl it is.
Okay, so, you know, I see you are really into details, like the emblems.
So, listen, I know a lot of people are like, yo, it's not an Alpina. So what? You know what I mean? It's not an M3. So what? You know what it is? It's a Caba build.
It's
and that's all that matters.
It's all about the detail, though, you know, and that's why, you know, that's what I always admire other people build, because the differences, you know, it doesn't have to be M3.
No.
You know what I mean? The fact the way the car look, stand, it's so crazy, you know. And that's why, you know, like I said before, when we saw you at Impact, we say, Warren, let's talk to him, let's talk to this gentleman, and let's make it happen. And that's why we're here today. Also, I remember I asked you before about the hood. Can you give us a little more detail into the hood?
Well, basically on the hood, if anybody knows BMW, man, I bought 2 latches. I actually didn't even want to go with the hood pins. I wanted a clean look, and then it wasn't working for me. I bought new latches, new everything, and it wasn't working. I said, at that point, maybe that's a sign. And I was like, you know something? We're going to go with the hood latch. You know, and the same thing with the vent. Huh?
With arrow catch.
Yeah, with the arrow catch, you know. And as I said, with the vent, I needed some little to stir up the front in there. And I believe it or not, I can't believe how many different vents. And I said, you know something? This vent setup fits it, looks nice. And as you said, for details, like a lot of people, when they see it, I did the rose gold rivets on there to match the wheels. And as I said, when it went to Impact, the main thing I love, that everybody came there and they didn't spend 5 minutes on the car. And they were looking at, and the funny thing is, they gradually see things. You know, it's funny, people will look at the car for 10 minutes and not notice that the studs, everything matches that. Then they're like, oh.
That's what I'm saying. You know, for me, it's all about details. So, and I like that. Was the vent custom made, or you guys fabricated?
No, the vent itself, I'm trying to remember the brand itself, the name. But yeah, I mean, otherwise from cutting it and putting it in, it was like already a prefab piece.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's one of the sexiest E46 on the East Coast, I would say.
Like the tortas he likes. wide body hips.
I tell you something. At the end of the day, one of the things that this car has that, I mean, obviously it's a one of one. That's hands down. You're not going to see another kit like this because, as I said, it's all handmade. But when you guys get a chance, take a look at the gas door. All wide body kits that you see out there, they all have the notch out for the gas door.
Yeah, it's all recessed.
If you notice on this door, there's no notch out. You know why? We actually moved that gas door back. So if you ever get it, when you guys take a picture of it, Even open it itself, you could see the resets of where it goes is back. So that gas door has been cut out and moved back a few inches.
With the passion that you put and the effort that you put so much into this, is this something that's going to get passed down to the family or generational car? What was your main sole purpose of building this vehicle?
At the end of the day, it's just for the culture and for the love of the game, really and truly. It's a build for everybody, regardless of whatever the case is. If you're 15 years old, 5 years old, or you're 7 years old. As I was telling Warren, one of my biggest things that I was so proud of is a dude, an older gentleman, I would say, I can't put a really age on it, but he was probably in his 70s. And he came over to me and shook my hand. And clearly, if you're 70 years old at an Impact show, you've been to a decent amount of shows, you've seen a decent amount of cars. And for him to come over and shake my hand and said, he was like, son, I've never seen something like this. And I said, something, at the end of the day, that's what I did it for. I had all ages of people at Impact. And that was the first car show that this car went to, actually reviewed at. And as I said, from little kids to old people, women, everybody loved the car. I didn't get one person that was like, oh, they didn't see something that they didn't like. And that was the reason for this build. My plan is 10 years from now, I can still pull this car out. And
still be a
it's
piece
still going to be
unique.
a time. Look at E30s.
Yeah.
Look at E30s.
So I think I haven't seen another E46 with a 2JC swap on it. I think this is the first E46 with 2JC swap on it. I have seen E92 with 2JC swap on it, which is a 335 Reef.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I know he's pushing like 1200, something like that.
Yeah.
That's the only other E-chassis that I have seen with a 2JC swap on it. Beside this
At the end
car.
of the day, no, they're out there. But pretty much it's how you design your stuff. They're out there. Everything is out there. You know what I mean? It's just, as I said, it's a Caba build. Most of them you see, they add this, add that, but I put my own touches on it. I mean, hell, even my bicycle, if you guys had seen,
The one that was mounted on the...
that's on the top. That bicycle is fully built also from the bottom up. As I said, my wife is like, listen, why you do that? I said, babe, because I'm making it mine. You understand what I'm saying? So when people see it and be like, oh, that's an SC bike, it's nice, but I've never seen that color. I've never seen it. Hold on. That bike got disc brakes on it. But as I said, I made it a part of my build, Caba build.
So everything we touch here has to be built.
Pretty much. I tell you what, and that's the only way you can separate yourself at the end of the day. If you don't put your own touch on it, that's the only way to separate yourself.
So I can't really remember if we spoke about this, but did we spoke about the size of the turbo that you have on this?
Yeah, so I'm using the Borg-Warner S369. As I said, right now, the car I have, my wife is looking, I have a lot of goodies for the internals right now. Right now, as I said, we make a 550, that's not a problem. You know what I mean? But as I was telling these guys, I've been through the past, this is the present, I'm actually working on the future, and it's going to be a problem.
All right. It's looking bright.
Very bright, very bright. Once again, follow my page, because everything I do is going to be on that page. The only thing I can heads up and give you, it's an F chassis. That's the only thing I can give you. Follow the page, and trust me, if you love this, you're going to love the next new build.
So there's a second car that's coming.
And yeah, it's already... It's my wife. My wife is there, guys. So
She's not here at the
said,
moment.
yeah, she's
She's
not
not
here.
here at the
Somebody-
moment.
anyway.
Somebody close the door.
yeah. So anyway, the thing with the new build in general, it's to be more modern. As I said, the 6-speed box is nice, but it's all about the transmission that's out there. You can't shift faster than these new transmissions.
Right.
So that's what I'm gonna. That's another clue I'm giving you guys.
I know that you grew up 2JZ. What are your thoughts about S58, B58?
I have no complaints. No, I love every motor. Don't get me wrong, but as I said, I'm going back to my roots, what works. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Those newer motors, they're doing their thing. You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know, I don't have 80 grand. Yeah, I have a lot of money, but I spend it through the time. But I'm not picking up an 80 grand car to throw parts on it. I'm going to use what I have here with my brother, and we're going to make it work. You don't have to have a new, you know. Yes, I'm doing an F chassis. So yes, it's a newer, but at the same time too, with the stuff that I know now and what I'm going to reintroduce into that itself is going to be another game changer.
When did you start building this car?
So this car actually 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And it's been like that. I mean, really and truly, COVID was a big slowdown. As I said, I was out of work. That was the first time I was unemployed. Believe that. I've been working from like 15, 16. And that was the first time I was collecting unemployment checks. It wasn't that bad, but that was the first time. So everything was on a hold with that because I didn't know where my future was going.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't be dumping parts in the car, and I got a family, you know? So everything was a hold. And then at that time, too, it was COVID. Like, I remember waiting weeks, months for parts. You know, no email. I'm like, wow, did I just get stiff? And then really and truly, as I said, I'm a God-fearing guy. The emails were coming in, obviously, when the containers were getting cleared. You know, so I was like, geez, I had a lot of parts I was waiting on that I wasn't hearing anything from. So, but 8 years this car's been in the build. Half of my family lives in Florida.
So pretty much we got the whole build from 305.
Well,
a lot of the parts.
Well, not even a lot of the parts. Just the heart, the transmission. You know, I used the factory harness, and as I said,
It's full AEM.
full AEM. The harness is done by Wiring Specialty.
Okay.
And my original plan was just to put in that setup and drive the car. But once you know you go, you're dealing with a motor that's 20-something years. Mm-hmm. I got up one Saturday morning, started the car was running like crap. I was like, all right then. It's only two things. I went to go check the igniter, the coils, and the clip broke in my hand. And from that itself, it was downhill from there because I was like, all right, I'm going to get a harness built. But when you build a harness, you know that, you know, you can't really, you could use factory injectors, but I said, you know something, let me get upgraded injectors. Let me get this, let me get that. And pretty much from that, the car snowballed to what it is now.
Okay, I see. You know, definitely you did your thing. That's for sure, not even a question. You know,
the car speaks for itself, man.
100%. You know, big shout out to you for obviously, you know, doing this over the years, almost 8 years. That's crazy because that's when I started hosting Meet for Long Island Bimmer in 2018.
Why are you looking at me? I wasn't there. I'm not your
So you know, I this guy, man. It's been a long time, you know, and I know it's not easy, but you know, look at you, how far you have come with the car. You know, any other? Oh yeah, what Alpina part do you have on the car?
Believe it or not, the only thing that I have on this car that's Alpina, I always love the badges. I actually bought the 50th anniversary badges for this car.
Okay.
And when I put it onto the car, it didn't fit.
It
For
just
some
blended
reason,
too much.
yeah, it didn't fit.
I know there's been a lot of passion in this build, and you said the family helped out. Who was your biggest influence? I know you said it was your brother. How did that manifest into what we see here today?
Well, it had a lot to do with it. You know, as I said, to me, you know, he's the teacher.
He's your older brother?
Yeah, he's my older brother. So I have him, and then I have another brother that's, as I said, we call a brother because we grew up tight. His first cousin, but we don't even call each other cousin. When we see him, one of them was actually at the show.
At Impact.
At Impact. But yeah, without my brother in general, and as I said, for you guys with roots, when I'm talking about roots, you know, I was born in Jamaica. I came here when I was younger. Actually, my family came here in 1981. And pretty much since I knew, you know, everything with my brother, and I'm talking about the older generation would know, we're coming from the days of Corolla with side draft, Macounies. You know, there wasn't people making parts for it. My brother and them was the start of the import world. What I'm just getting at is they didn't people wasn't making springs
Right.
and stuff like that for the JDM cars, at least here.
That started till like 2002, 2004?
Yeah.
The springs and suspension stuff?
It was more mass produced now than what it was back then. Because I remember just trying to find coilovers was hard for SR5, for the Corolla.
Oh, yeah.
Even RX-7 parts. And
Oh,
I know
yeah.
your M70 Supra.
Yeah.
That was just tough to find.
No, of course, man. And as I said, the internet has a big play on it.
Yeah, that was my other question. What do you think about the social media nowadays? Because I know it's a lot easier sometimes to find stuff, or it's so easy to just to DM someone else that has almost the same build as you. Do you think the internet is such a big influence nowadays?
Well, I tell you what, I'm on it. It's good to see the internet. As I said, it has, just like everything else, it has its pros and its cons. You know what I mean? The nice thing with it, as you said, you got a guy in UK, you got a guy in Switzerland. You can see what he's building. Before it was just a word of mouth. Now you could go on Instagram and you can see what the world is building. You know what I mean? How could you beat that?
And like back in the day, at like Hot and Poor Nights, we're taking pictures and we had to wait until the film got developed, and then we can only share it to so many.
Many people, of course. Now you open up your phone and you can see, as I said, you can see the world building.
So, would you consider? Well, I know obviously now you say you're gonna build an F chassis, right?
Yes.
Would you consider to do another swap into that F?
Listen, follow the page. Follow
Okay.
As I said,
A future episode.
yes, definitely we're gonna meet up again, but follow the page. I have everything on this car. As I said, it's just with the time, but I'm gonna start posting more on it, because I have everything. Thank God, that we took pictures of everything. Literally, I think I have close to 4,000 pictures of everything we did on this car. Because people's gonna be like, it's bought, not built.
Right.
So
I got all the pictures to prove when I was there doing everything on there, literally.
F chassis, is it gonna be 2-door or 4 doors?
It's gonna be 4-door.
Look at the disappointment in his eye.
I'm just asking.
No, well, you're not a fan of
Of course, I have an F chassis.
It's slow.
Yeah, well, single turbo on it, so it's low.
It's small.
Consider it that way. I got a F82. I got an M4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
single turbo.
Yeah. I mean, even just like this car, what I did with it is not overnight. Trust me. And that's why I took that time, because I said, I got to make sure that I love what I'm doing or what I put on the car. It just is basically even the interior. Like a lot of guys in general, I waited a year and a half when I bought this seat. As soon as I bought the seat, I said, I want everything in there to be color match. So I actually hit up Brum. I'm like, dude, could you sell me the material? He was like, at that time, they was like, yo, we're not selling the material. So I'm like, all right, then speak to your boss, see if we could work something out. And he said, something, he emailed me back. And one of the things, as I said, we were just talking about here, what I don't like going forward is the email thing. Now, it's fine and everything. When I was dropping all this money, it's all email. And it sucks though, because when you're spending a certain amount of money.
You want a little bit of personal.
Of course. I mean, even down to the wheels. When I was ordering the wheels, I speak to him like, yo, dude, could you just give me 5 minutes? I don't have 100 questions. I just have a few questions. And it was all emails. You know what I mean? So that's the only bad thing. And at the Eastern days, you could have you made that transition.
You touched the catalog.
And you're talking.
And I said, I want this.
No, you're talking with it. But as I said, it's a newer time, so it's all about email. But as I said, even with the interior, the guy emailed me back, and he was like, yeah, my boss said, all right, I could buy the material, but he also said that we don't have it in stock. So I'm like, all right, then, you know something? I'll still buy it. Don't worry about it. If you guys don't get it or whatever the case is, or if they discontinue, I'll take the loss. And I bought like 7 yards of the material, and same thing, I waited almost a year and a half. Imagine COVID. That was in the era of COVID, It
was tough.
And I waited a year and a half for the material. And as soon as I got the material, and the guy who did the interior for me, John, I'm gonna hit him up. He's from Connecticut. I'm sorry, John. I know your first name. I'm just trying to, so much going on. But he's the one who did the interior at the door panels, the rear seat, the headrest.
They did a great job.
Yeah, he
they did a fantastic job.
I tell you what, he changed actually the game, because when you guys take a look in the inside, he made the back seats to match the front seat. He could have just,
Yeah, I noticed that.
just rewrapped
I
it,
saw that before.
He could have just rewrapped it, but he said, "No, dude, I'm gonna make the back seats look like the front seats." And I was like, something, John, I appreciate it, dude. And those are the little things that, as I said, for details, without me telling you guys, only a handful of people will look at it and they're like, "Oh wow, everything looks nice." But if 100 people look at it, maybe 4 people be like, "The rear seats match the front."
Yeah.
So, and as I said, my boy, I'm gonna do a shoot on the car in general and basically tag everybody that was involved with the car. Because as I said, it's a village. I funded the project, but everybody showed love and helped me with the project.
I guess final question really is to the purists out there, and they see that as a 2J. What do you have to say about that?
That's a good question, at the end of the day, because as a purist, you know what I mean? I could have went with a lot of options, because at the time I built it, I had, N52s, and I had the options out there to do, but I'm not reinventing the wheel.
So, yeah, because that was the other thing, that I was going to say. You could have won S58.
Yeah, I could have went a lot
Because
of ways.
S58 right now, is one of the craziest engine out there, for sure.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's the Godfather. Regardless of whatever's out there, it's the Godfather.
No, 100%.
What is somebody
You
gonna say?
can't argue that.
I haven't, to this day, find somebody who has something bad to say about a 2J. Literally. You tell me now, find somebody out there that has a problem with a 2J. Like, as I said, when I was at Impact, when people seen the car, regardless, and they came from the side and whatever the case is, but when they came to the front, everybody was like, "Oh!" So regardless of whatever the case is, I got the Godfather in there. You're not going to find, S58. Everything is good. I love all the new motors, but I got the Godfather in there.
So, would you consider BMW in the top 10 brands?
Hands down. Hands down. But once again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I know what works.
No, I see. Listen, I guess that's why everyone loves BMW, because just the way they handle,
You can't get a better handling car. So everything you could check off. Handling, looks, to the time. As I said, it's a timeline piece. Hats off to the guys who designed, look at the E30.
Yeah.
Well, is that why Mercedes-Benz is getting a B48 for the ACL class?
The BimmerPodcast does not endorse any remarks this man has to say. Just disclaimer.
Disclaimer. No, because that's what I read lately, that they're using a B48 on a CL class.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, guys, they're not reinventing the wheel. If something that works, you could add something extra to it, you know what I mean, to advance it a little bit. But if something that works, you stick with it.
I think that's why also Toyota did the same thing.
Listen.
Right? That's why they collab with BMW, because BMW has, because like performance-wise, I don't think there is any other brand that can really compete with BMW, unless there is an exotic or Porsche.
Of course.
But other than that, I don't think there is any other brand that can say, you know what, I'm next to you, let's go. Yeah. Unless that you got a 2JZ swap, like he said before. But right now, I know we got some crazy S58 pushing 1600 horsepower.
Of course, hands down. Regardless of whatever the case is. And as I said, at the end of the day, this is a Kaba build. When I'm just getting out with it, it's a home build. I have 2 stickers that's on this car. My boy Kev, if you guys want to get your paint correction, wraps, PPF, if you want your car looking good like this, you know where to go. KDA. I have that, and then I have Fish Auto Works on this car. That's it. Yes, I do have other friends that help me with the fab, but majority of the work is done at my brother's house, outside, no garage. I got pictures to prove it too. Outside, there was days with snow on the ground. You know, thank God I got pictures, because at the end of the day, they were like, oh, he's just saying that. No, I got pictures. I'm going to post them and
It's
where
the
was that?
passion
It was
that
an
drives
outside
you.
build, yeah.
Yeah, it's the passion that drives you.
So guys, go follow his page. What's your page? So people.
It's Kappa Built on Instagram, and trust me, guys, it's got a few pictures, a little bit on there, but we're gonna start loading it up.
Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story to our audience. I appreciate that. Thank you to KDA Treatment for hosting us as far as this recording is going. And I just want to say follow our socials. DM us if you want to get more information about tortas in New York. DM Nestor. For me, let me know where you live, and I'll come and deliver it for you.
Yeah, you know, if you guys want any food delivery faster than Uber, DM Warren.
And just in case, subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment, like, subscribe. Also, we have merch coming out, the Bimmer Podcast. Just DM us, and we'll try to get you onto our website that Nestor is working on.
Yes,
All right?
sir. And like always, big shout out to the social media, to the media guys that we got here.
Yes, thank you guys.
I know some people, come here on time, and some people don't come here on time, but we're still shutting them out. And thank you, Luke, for having us. It's really a pleasure.
Not a problem, man.
Big shout out to you guys. Beautiful build, and guys, stay tuned. Big things are coming. We got some big heavy hitter coming soon, very, very soon. I'm not gonna say name. All I can say, some of them are pushing 14, 15, 16, 1600 horsepower on the S58 platform. So, I'm also gonna try to reach out to one of my friends that he got a fast B58. I really wanted to bring. Yeah, but you're slow. I know you're trying to do the kit right now.
You'll see.
By the way,
Give him time, guys. Give him time.
He got something. He got a turbo right now, and he got a few things that they're gonna
Just
be
as big as the tortas that you hang out with.
But just one thing though. I'm sure that he got it. How many drive shafts do you have so far?
So right now I'm on my third, but as you know, just like in the back of the Taco Bell, you always get more than one taco.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
we're good to go.
Yeah, trust me, guys. He better buy something really good this time, because he got a. What size turbo do you have anyway? By the way,
It's a 6870.
6870.
You're gonna make some jam with
Yeah,
that.
no, he got a little bit of everything.
A
So
little low man and some orange chicken
All right,
mixed
there
in.
you go.
We get it going, bro.
So there's definitely, I'm gonna talk to somebody that got a fast B58, and I want to bring my other guy on the other side that got a fast S58. I want to make these to go crazy, S58 or B58, because I know people always say, oh, B58, but I know people say, who's the real king, B58 or S58? So far, people say it's S58, but some people say it's a B58.
Well, Luke's saying 2JZ.
That's a godfather right there, so we can't really say much about that.
Guys,
Thanks,
once
Luke.
again, I want to thank the Bimmer Podcast. There was a lot of cars at Impact, regardless of whatever the case is. And pretty much this car came out last week, and here we are today. 1 week later, we're doing this. So I must have did something right, where these guys said, something, we got to get, this car.
We appreciate your time. We appreciate you having us here. And I'm sure this is not going to be the first, neither the last. Obviously, once the car is done, we're definitely going to have a second part, guys. Stay tuned for that, because I know he's going to tune it, and I know he's going to do some other stuff.
We're going to shoot rollers of him passing his car because it's really slow. But that's going to be really fast, so it'll look like it's slow motion. But don't worry, time lapse is coming.
As long as I beat the B58 that you got, I'm fine with it.
Never. The only way you beat the case would be actually the green card.
Should we race S55, B58?
Hey, let's see what happens.
So we both got turbo, so let's do it.
All
I'm
right.
down for it.
There you go.
Let's go. So guys, we're gonna show you some something about the build he got. It's obviously the interior, the engine. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys. Let's go.
Driving a German whip.